Although many people consider Hollywood their ideal place to live, not all celebrities can live in the spotlight. Due to startling scandals, business disputes, or personal conflicts, several stars who previously enthralled audiences are no longer seen on the big screen. Can these celebrities ever make a comeback, and why were they banned? From high-profile scandals to private disputes, we're exposing the little-known tales of performers that Hollywood ignored. Stay tuned as we delve deeply into these iconic figures' fates. Megan Fox's big mouth. Megan Fox used to be considered the most attractive actress in Hollywood. Her involvement in the Transformers series made her famous, but after being abruptly removed from the franchise, she seemed to lose interest in future projects. What then took place? The most widely accepted idea is that director Michael Bay disciplined her for comparing him to a cruel tyrant on set in an interview. She seems to have been blacklisted in the industry in addition to being kicked off the set. Harsh! Edward Norton's high demands. After making a name for himself in fantastic films like American History X and Fight Club, Edward Norton starred in several violent and powerful films that received high criticism. Regrettably, it appears that this is what ultimately ended his career. Although Norton wasn't very violent, he was said to be quite demanding and challenging. Eventually, his reputation got so bad that no one wanted to hire him. Toby Maguire aged too well. For his part in Spider-Man, Toby Maguire was adored by all. However, he appeared to disappear from our screens more and more over time, leading some to question his whereabouts. Maguire's issue was that he was too old to play his famous superhero character anymore. However, because of his boyish appearance, he was still attractive enough to portray more mature roles. In a sense, he was stuck. Brendan Fraser's had one too many flops. Everything was going well for Brendan Fraser, who launched his career with a series of hit films, including George of the Jungle and the Mummy franchise. Then in 2010, it seemed as though he had just vanished. Where was he now? He starred in two massive failures that year, Extraordinary Measures and Fury Vengeance. Do you recall those? Not us. However, with such movie office failures, the industry undoubtedly did, and people essentially stopped hiring him. Jessica Alba was feeling uncomfortable. Jessica Alba was one of Hollywood's most attractive properties a few years ago. She starred in several viral movies, including the Fantastic Four television series. Alba, however, started to lose interest in show business after working on these movies, since she began to believe that appearances were the only criteria used in the industry. She subsequently disclosed that a director had requested that she look more attractive when crying during a scene. The actress took a step back to concentrate on her family following that, which was the final straw for her. Mike Myers has taken a step back. Movies like Wayne's World, Austin Powers, and Shrek ultimately defined the times and genres from which they originated and are still considered classics today. In the past, it was impossible to go somewhere without seeing some of Myers' comic characters. However, what became of these gems' inventors and stars? As it happens, he only stepped back from the spotlight because he prefers playing the roles of parent and husband. How adorable. Jennifer Connelly stepped away. Since she starred in the iconic David Bowie surreal comedy Labyrinth as a teenager, Jennifer Connelly has undoubtedly become one of the most well-known and adored faces in the entertainment industry. She has since starred in incredible films like He's Just Not That Into You and A Beautiful Mind, for which she even received an Oscar. She then disclosed that she felt Hollywood was a little shallow and phony. Therefore, she chose to leave the industry despite having attained heights of fortune and renown that most people can only imagine. Rob Schneider's anti-vax opinions held him back. Do you recall Rob Schneider? It seemed like he appeared in everything at one point. He went from being everywhere, like in 50 First Dates and The Animal, to suddenly not being anywhere without anyone noticing. Where had he gone then? In actuality, he starred in a few box office and critical failures, but his vocal anti-vax views caused most of Hollywood to no longer want to work with him. Jean-Claude Van Damme wanted too much money. Once one of the greatest and most sought-after action movie tough guys in the business, Jean-Claude Van Damme was also known as the Muscles from Brussels. After becoming well-known with the wildly popular Time Cop, he didn't produce as many films as critics and fans had anticipated. Later, when he became too large for his boots and began demanding exorbitant sums, he admitted it was all his fault. His attitude didn't impress anyone, and the jobs soon stopped. Alyson Hannigan publicly criticized her show. Before making the successful move into film with the American Pie franchise and landing on another wildly popular TV show, How I Met Your Mother, Alyson Hannigan won our hearts as the endearing, silly, geek-turned-witch Willow from the beloved TV series Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The conclusion of HIMYM had fans and critics feeling quite let down, and Hannigan said that she felt the same way. Some claim that she left show business because of her vocal criticism of the show, while others claim that she just wanted to spend more time with her family at home. Liv Tyler's getting old. Liv Tyler was born into a family of Hollywood aristocracy, so it was inevitable that she would become a superstar. Tyler adds a certain ethereal beauty and wonder to all of her roles, from her stunning appearance as Erwin in The Lord of the Rings to her role as the lead in her father Steven Tyler's band Aerosmith's song video when she was a young adolescent. However, the gifted actress acknowledged that her career began to suffer as she grew older. "The number 38 is crazy," she told More magazine. "You are typically the girlfriend or wife, a second-class citizen." Taylor Lautner's acting skills. Do you recall how enamored everyone was with everything Twilight-related? You just couldn't move for anything Twilight-related, whether it was the novels, the films, or the beautiful characters in the series. Additionally, Taylor Lautner hasn't been able to sustain his career since Kristen Stewart and Robert Pattinson, who became famous thanks to the film series. Unfortunately, people's lack of admiration for Lautner's acting abilities isn't his fault. The poor fellow. Freddy Prince Jr.'s health issues. From his recurring parts in the Scooby-Doo film series to his swoon-worthy performance in She's All That, teen idol heartthrob Freddy Prince Jr. was the king of 90s and 2000s films. Despite his extraordinary talent, he had a somewhat quiet career. Although many believe he had trouble regaining his previous level of popularity, the reality is that he had some important things to deal with outside of the spotlight. He had to have surgery on his spine in 2014 due to health problems, and he places a higher priority on raising his kids with another Hollywood star, Sarah Michelle Gellar. Anna Faris focused on other things. After starring in some of the most well-liked comedies of the decade, including Just Friends, My Super Ex-Girlfriend, and of course the Scary Movie series, Anna Faris was once the talk of the Hollywood comedy industry. Naturally, her celebrity also brought much media attention and greatly strained her marriage to fellow actor Chris Pratt. Unfortunately, the strain proved fatal for their relationship, and they eventually parted ways. Faris has since somewhat distanced herself from the spotlight, concentrating on her writing and podcast instead. Tom Felton's nerves took the best of him. When young Tom Felton first appeared on our screens as the sassy adversary Draco Malfoy in the beloved Harry Potter film series, we immediately fell in love with him. We all swooned as Felton matured from a boy to a man, but the actor had trouble finding other roles once his Potter days ended. He told the Daily Mail, "I'm a lot more anxious at auditions now than I was at 11. Before you receive something nice, you must absorb many hits. In America, they are ruthless. Someone is using the BlackBerry to play music before you have even begun." Miranda Cosgrove's music career never took off. Miranda Cosgrove appeared successful and famous in the bag during her formative years. She starred in films such as School of Rock, iCarly, and Drake and Josh. But all of a sudden, she vanished from the industry rather than rising to the top. Where had she disappeared to? She attempted to pursue a singing career following iCarly's success, but it never really took off. Although she has recently found fame as a voiceover artist, she never truly put her career back on track after breaking her ankle in a tour bus accident 2011. Ashton Kutcher fell out of favor. Ashton Kutcher's comic turns in That 70s Show and the wildly famous MTV prank show Punk made him the hottest property on television at one point. His ideal balance of cute and crazy, his extreme silliness and smoldering at the camera, was adored by the audience. Swoon! He has, however, somewhat resigned himself in recent years, having only had a passable, successful stint as Charlie Sheen's stand-in on 2.5 Men. Some claim that he just lost favor with the industry, while others assert that he is now spending more time with his family and fellow star Mila Kunis. Jessica Biel was too sexy. Everyone knows Justin Timberlake is married to the stunningly beautiful and well-known Jessica Biel. However, you wind up scratching your head when you genuinely wonder what she is famous for. Yes, you might recognize her from the 2002 films The Rules of Attraction and Seventh Heaven, but her career was ruined when she was named the sexiest woman alive by Esquire magazine in 2005. Oh, this is going to be fantastic, I thought. This is going to bring me a lot of employment. She addressed Radio Free Entertainment, saying, I felt like I was a little bit on this pedestal, but that wasn't the case. Hayden Christensen's Living on a Farm. When Hayden Christensen portrayed the attractive Jedi and tortured soul Anakin Skywalker in the Star Wars prequels Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, the entire world fell deeply in love with him. His ascent to stardom was rapid and intense, but he later admitted that it all felt too simple, so he decided he no longer wanted it and moved to a farm. He told the LA Times, I felt like it was too handed to me. I didn't want to feel like I was merely riding a wave throughout my life. Seann William Scott was typecast. Seann William Scott first gained popularity as the endearing and amusing Stifler from the American Pie television series. He then gained recognition for playing similar silly roles in films like Dude, Where's My Car? And Hazard Dukes. In the end, he was essentially stereotyped as a cutesy dummy. Although he hasn't entirely vanished from Hollywood, he now tends to do more voiceover work after giving up on landing regular jobs outside of the character genre in which he became mired. Halle Berry's super awkward speech. Halle Berry is an acting legend in many respects because she earned a Razzie for Worst Actress and was the first black woman to win the Academy Award for Best Actress. 4 years after winning the Oscar for Monsters Ball in 2002, she took home the mock gong for her performance in Catwoman. Many were astonished when she finally accepted the Razzie in person. She then disparaged Warner Brothers, her management, and her co-stars. Berry's statement was quite awkward. It was the last time we saw her on film. Josh Radnor's character was too annoying. Every character from the popular comedy How I Met Your Mother has a particular place in our hearts since we all adored it. Or do they? Even while we enjoyed HIMYM at the time, the misogyny and bullying it featured left us with a terrible taste in our mouths. It's one of those shows that has aged terribly, in addition to the heartbreakingly unsatisfactory conclusion. However, even during the show's most successful period, Radnor's character, Ted, was somewhat unpleasant and obnoxious. It should come as no surprise that he has fallen the most into oblivion of the entire ensemble. Sarah Michelle Gellar focuses on her family. Without question, Sarah Michelle Gellar has contributed to some of the most memorable scenes and moments in TV and movie history. Nothing will erase the enchanted and exquisite legacy of the masterpieces that were Cruel Intentions and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, regardless of how your career may eventually fade. She only managed to get roles in trashy slashers like Scream and The Grudge, but she has also talked candidly about how difficult it was to make a living outside of the horror genre for which she became so famous. She now prioritizes raising her family and running her cooking business. B.J. Novak's second career. One of the most beloved and referenced television programs in history, The Office, was a classic on NBC. Actors like Steve Carell and John Krasinski became famous, but many people may wonder what happened to B.J. Who was Ryan Novak? As many may believe, he may have vanished entirely from our screens. Still, he has undoubtedly kept himself occupied since he is well established in his second job as a food and technology entrepreneur. Well done. Jim Carrey turned to art. It was nearly impossible to avoid viewing a Jim Carrey film at one point in the 1990s and 2000s. He was everywhere. He first gained notoriety for his ridiculous and slightly insane roles in movies like The Mask and Liar Liar. He subsequently astounded audiences with his more somber acting roles in beloved films like The Truman Show and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. However, he has since disclosed that he left Hollywood because he found the industry too corporate and heartless. These days, he would instead paint and create art. Fairuza Balk lost interest. One of the more unconventional and rebellious actors, Fairuza Balk, always favored unique and imaginative parts over straight-out blockbusters. She dazzled us all with her distinct personality and charisma from her early performances in films like Return to Oz and The Craft. However, she then told Dread Central that she took a step back since she no longer found the dull world of Hollywood fascinating. Being pushed too hard in my 20s was difficult for me. Hollywood is made that way. It's always about the newest flavor of the moment. Vince Vaughn got bored. The machine can make you idle, Vince Vaughn told GQ magazine. You read a script, and then you agree to a role, and then soon enough, you're on set looking at a scene that has had all the juice and the life sucked right out of it. Do you recall the days when he was one of the most adored, well-liked, and prolific comedy actors out there? He appeared in all the funny movies of the time, including Swingers, Dodgeball, and Wedding Crashers. Still, he later admitted that he had grown tired of playing the same roles in every project and decided he didn't want to continue. Zooey Deschanel, the manic pixie dream girl. It's unfair that Deschanel, a great actress, took the brunt of the world's disdain for this movie trope, but that's what happened, unfortunately. Zooey Deschanel was once the epitome of quirky and alternative charm, appearing in several successful films, including New Girl and 500 Days of Summer. Her characters fit what is now known as the trope of the manic pixie dream girl, a dreamy, unconventional girl who only exists to further a male main character's story arc. Daniel Stern got into charity. When he accepted the President's Volunteer Service Award, Daniel Stern, who played Marv, said, "My success as an actor has afforded me the unique opportunity to give back to my community. It's funny to think that one of the two iconic burglars in the beloved classic Home Alone was a mega-famous Oscar-winning legend, Joe Pesci, and the other was, well, the other." Lindsay Lohan's gone wild. Lindsay Lohan, who, like so many others, rose to fame at a very young age with roles in films like Freaky Friday and Mean Girls, is a prime example of a young girl full of promise and power who was chewed up and spat out by the industry, which now enjoys laughing at the troubled young woman they turned her into. Like so many others, Lohan struggled with the pressures of fame and the industry, and she developed drug and alcohol addictions. Today, she is somewhat of a pariah in the industry, known for her unpredictable outbursts and Z-list horror movie exploits. Cameron Diaz felt burned out. Cameron Diaz is the person who immediately springs to mind when you think of some of the most iconic films of the early 2000s. After making her Hollywood debut in The Mask, she became the go-to actress for classy chick flicks and became synonymous with the girl next door in Hollywood. So why did she just vanish from the spotlight? Well, the truth is that she became somewhat burned out from the demanding schedule of show business and decided she just wanted a more peaceful and quiet life. Fair enough. Christopher Mintz-Plasse, a.k.a. McLovin. Christopher Mintz-Plasse, who played McLovin in the 2007 classic comedy Superbad, is one of those actors who occasionally land a role that propels them from unknown to mega superstardom. However, something that also frequently happens in these situations is that the character is so iconic that the actor cannot break away, even though Mintz-Plasse was a fantastic actor playing McLovin. Christina Ricci wasn't happy with her roles. Christina Ricci appeared to have escaped the notorious curse of childhood stardom at one point. Despite becoming famous at a very young age for her role as Wednesday Addams in The Addams Family, Ricci was able to transition into adult roles in films like Sleepy Hollow and The Opposite of Sex. However, Ricci later disclosed that she struggled to get high-quality roles as her career progressed, saying, "I've never just been offered good or interesting things," in an interview with the UK newspaper The Guardian. Billy Zane's unforgotten role. If you think about it, we haven't seen Zane in anything else that successful since then, even though his face is one we all recognize. It's odd to think of Billy Zane because he always seemed to be already highly famous before he starred in Titanic in 1997. But in reality, that was one of his most prominent major film roles, and it kind of came to define his career as a whole. Zane admitted that the role still follows him around to this day and that he just can't escape it. Bella Thorne is a dive. Bella Thorne was one of the biggest stars of the time when she was a Disney star. She co-starred with fellow young superstar Zendaya in Shake It Up for 3 seasons. Still, while Zendaya developed into a critically acclaimed and award-winning actress, Thorne has struggled to gain the same respect as an adult star. She has been involved in several box office failures, including 2017's Amityville: The Awakening, and has been plagued by rumors of diva behavior and unreasonable working demands. Tara Reid and the Pressures of Fame. One of show business's most prominent stars when she first debuted as Bicky in the American Pie film series, Tara Reid is another classic example of a young girl with extraordinary talent who was overextended on the Hollywood circuit. However, the demands of fame got to her, and she has been plagued for years by rumors of substance abuse and eating disorders. In addition to some rather dubious film roles like My Boss's Daughter and Alone in the Dark, for which she won the Golden Raspberries Worst Actress Awards, she has been plagued for years. Hulk Hogan's controversy. Hulk Hogan was once one of the most well-known figures in show business, whether in the WWE sports world or his later work in TV and film, particularly his reality show, Hogan Knows Best, which starred him and his family. However, another wrestler who later became an actor, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, somewhat overshadowed his fame. However, Hogan might have regained it if it weren't for his embarrassing sex tape scandal that later ruined his reputation. Catherine Zeta-Jones has her demons. Catherine Zeta-Jones was one of the most well-known and adored actresses of the late 1990s and early 2000s. She starred in blockbuster films like The Mask of Zorro and Entrapment, and won the Academy Award for her performance in Chicago. However, since then, we haven't seen much of her because, in reality, she has been dealing with her issues behind the scenes, revealing that she has bipolar disorder, which has forced her acting career to take a back seat. Matthew Fox had a fallout with his co-stars. In a way, Matthew Fox had 2 successful ascents to fame: his portrayal of the gorgeous Charlie Salinger in the famous 90s television series Party of Five, and his return to the spotlight in the renowned, or infamous, Lost. For a few years, Lost captivated the world, but everyone lost interest when it became apparent that there was no real explanation for it, and rumors of tensions and fallouts between Fox and his co-stars, along with a DUI charge in 2012, didn't help him either. Cara Delevingne, we're still waiting for a comeback. When Cara Delevingne made the often doomed transition from modeling to acting, many of her critics were taken aback because it turned out that she was more than just a pretty face. She was a talented actress, as evidenced by her roles in Suicide Squad and Paper Towns. However, this didn't stop her from choosing awful blockbusters like Tulip Fever and Valerian and The City of a Thousand Planets. But she's still young, so perhaps she can still make a comeback. Jesse Eisenberg replaced Michael Cera. Michael Cera's starring role can be found in some of the most beloved, iconic, and cult films of the 2000s. His lovable roles in movies like Juno and Superbad, and his role in the popular sitcom Arrested Development, made him a household name. Unfortunately, he hasn't made much of an impression since Jesse Eisenberg seemingly took over his adorable, dorky persona. Additionally, his role as a fictionalized version of himself in This Is the End was humorous, but turned off many people even more. Bridget Wilson's priorities have changed. I balance family and career by doing what makes me the happiest, Bridget Wilson told ModernMom.com, which for me, without question, is putting my family and kids first. Therefore, I work a lot less acting-wise. Bridget Wilson is most known for her roles in films like I Know What You Did Last Summer and Shop Girl, but she first gained notoriety when she won Miss Teen USA in the 1990s. She disappeared just as she seemed to be on the verge of superstardom until she met and married tennis player Pete Sampras. Stacey Dash embarrassed herself. I've been backlisted in Hollywood. They told me that when they pitched me, casting directors would say, "We give you credit for pitching her with a straight face." It makes me so angry. Fans of Stacey Dash have had a difficult time over the years, having to watch their once hero humiliate herself in a series of rants and hateful language. Remember those glory days when Cher and Dion ruled the world? The 1995 smash hit teen film Clueless captured viewers' hearts worldwide and is still a mega classic today. Jorge Garcia only gets smaller roles. It was always kind of a secondary thing that I always played around with, Jorge Garcia told LA Weekly. Jorge Garcia is undoubtedly the most memorable cast member of the hit TV show Lost, and he remains much beloved by audiences even when the show endured its terrible demise. Despite having a large fan base, he never seems to land the leading role, appearing only in small parts. Why is that? Perhaps because he also has a side gig as a stand-up comedian. Lori Loughlin bribery scandal involvement. Everyone's favorite aunt, Lori Loughlin, rose to fame as the endearing Aunt Becky in the beloved sitcom Full House, which ran from the 1980s to the 1990s. Younger viewers may recognize her from the 2016 sequel, Fuller House, but they are likely more familiar with her from the redesigned 90210 series as Debbie Wilson. Unfortunately, she has lost favor with Hollywood since her involvement in the 2019 college admissions bribery scandal and her 2-month jail sentence. Her shady past made it even more difficult for her to leave the iconic role for which she will always be remembered. Nina Dobrev took a risk. When Nina Dobrev's roles in popular shows like Degrassi, The Next Generation, and The Vampire Diaries put her on the path to superstardom, she appeared to follow the conventional route to fame. However, in 2015, she abruptly left the hit show, throwing the industry for a loop. Dobrev acknowledged that she took a considerable risk, but it was just something she had to do. "The things I wanted to do aren't necessarily the things that are expected of me," she told Harper's Bazaar. Elisha Cuthbert's Haunted by Kim Bauer. For a while, Elisha Cuthbert was the next big thing in show business after her role as Kim Bauer, Jack Bauer's daughter, in the popular action TV series 24. She later starred in the television comedy Happy Endings, but she hasn't made an impression since. Many think her first character returned to haunt her because Kim Bauer was named one of Entertainment Weekly's 20 most annoying TV characters ever. Chris O'Donnell's Robin was just too bad. After playing Robin in Batman Forever, Chris O'Donnell appeared to have hit the Hollywood A-list. However, the sequel, Batman and Robin, was such a huge failure that it severely damaged O'Donnell's career, and he never fully recovered. At one point, it seemed as though O'Donnell was going to become the biggest star on the planet. He was undoubtedly a classic heartthrob, and he starred in some incredibly swoonsome roles in the 1990s like Mad Love and Circle of Friends. Dane Cook received terrible reviews. Before he began starring in movies, Dane Cook was a relatively prosperous and well-respected stand-up comedian. However, after he was once the favorite, he began to receive negative reviews from critics and accusations of stealing jokes from other comedians like Joe Rogan. Things just went a little sour, and his career never really recovered. Tom Welling took a break that lasted. When Tom Welling first appeared on television as a young Superman Clark Kent in the popular TV show Smallville, the world watched in wonder and awe. It seemed like he had hit the big time and quickly rose to prominence in the industry, but after working so hard for so long, it took its toll, and Welling chose to take a break after the series ended. However, it appears he never fully recovered from that break, as he has only appeared in 3 films since 2011. Julia Stiles and her box office bombs. What happened to Julia Stiles? She quickly became the teen movie scene's queen in the 1990s and 2000s with films like Save the Last Dance and 10 Things I Hate About You. After that, she didn't seem to be in many films other than the Bourne films, in which she gave strong but subdued performances. Maybe this was because some of her other films, like Hamlet, Down to You, and A Guy Thing, were box office failures. It's a shame because she was incredibly talented. Terrence Howard retired after Empire. Following Empire, Terrence Howard told Extra he was done acting, saying, "I'm done with acting, I'm done pretending, and focusing on bringing truth to the world." Since then, he has had minor roles in a few TV shows and movies, including reprising his role in the limited series based on the film The Best Man. We loved watching Terrence Howard as hip-hop mogul Lucius Lyon in Empire, but after the show ended, he stopped showing up on our screens, and we began to wonder where he was. Daniel Day-Lewis officially retired. Despite being the first actor to win 3 Oscars in the lead actor category, Daniel Day-Lewis has taken many breaks from the business. He stopped performing on stage during a 1989 Hamlet performance and left the industry to focus on woodworking and shoemaking after filming The Boxer in the mid-1990s. In 2017, his representative, Leslie Dart, told People, Daniel Day-Lewis will no longer be working as an actor. His final role was in the movie Phantom Thread. Portia de Rossi wanted a new challenge. Even though she had long-running roles in Arrested Development and Scandal, Portia de Rossi left Hollywood before turning 45 to find a new challenge and launch a business. Although she made a brief appearance in Season 5 of Arrested Development, creator Mitch Hurwitz wrote her in even after she told him she wouldn't be doing it because she quit acting, as she shared with her wife on her talk show. Portia de Rossi is best known as Ellen DeGeneres' wife, but is also a successful actress. Gene Hackman wasn't getting scripts. With roles in movies like The French Connection, Unforgiven, Bonnie and Clyde, and Mississippi Burning, two-time Oscar winner Gene Hackman was a Hollywood mainstay for a few decades. However, since the mid-2000s, you won't see the actor in anything because he left show business in 2004 after telling Larry King that his career was probably all over and that he had no new scripts in front of him. In 2008, he formally announced his retirement. Jake Gleason wasn't having fun. I just stopped enjoying it as much as I used to, and now there's the prospect of doing it for a living. When you make a living from something, it changes your relationship with it, said Jake Gleason, star of Game of Thrones, after he retired from acting at the height of his career. But it's much less common for actors to do so after they reach adulthood and have had a successful Hollywood career. Mel Gibson's Rages and Freakouts. During the 1980s, 1990s, and 2000s, Mel Gibson was a successful actor and director. However, his career was irreparably damaged by some obscene remarks and public outbursts, the most memorable of which is the drunk driving incident in 2006, in which he went on an anti-Semitic tirade that made headlines worldwide. More than 10 years have passed since the incident, and many people still haven't forgiven him. Since then, he hasn't been a significant player in Hollywood. Rose McGowan spoke up about abuse. Rose McGowan was best known for her role in the supernatural drama Charmed. Still, since 2017, she has taken on a new role as one of the silence breakers, speaking out against sexual assault and harassment in the Harvey Weinstein cases and the Me Too movement. However, after courageously reporting the abuse to the New York Times, McGowan claims she was blacklisted and directly threatened after doing so. Amanda Bynes' Mental Health and Substance Abuse. It's challenging to think of a show or film that Amanda Bynes didn't star in the 1990s and 2000s. Like many young stars, she paid the price of being a child star by suffering from substance abuse and mental health problems, which led to a downward spiral. As a result, she decided to take an indefinite break from acting to concentrate on earning her degree in merchandise product development from the Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising in Los Angeles. Macaulay Culkin wanted a normal life. Who can forget Macaulay Culkin's Kevin McAllister? He starred in several films in the early 1990s before taking a break from acting in 1994 because he wanted an everyday life. He returned briefly in 2003 for a guest appearance on Will and Grace and in the movie Party Monster. These days, he works on his comedy podcast and website, Bunny Ears. The Home Alone films never get old, especially around the holidays. Charlie Sheen's erratic behavior. Once the highest-paid actor on television, Charlie Sheen struggled to find roles after being fired from 2.5 Men for his lousy behavior off-screen. His personal life is always in the news, with reports of drug and alcohol abuse, marital issues, and domestic violence. His unpredictable behavior in videos and interviews with radio host Alex Jones, where he claimed to be a warlock with tiger blood and Adonis DNA, and to be winning, didn't sit well with fans. Hilary Swank lost her groove. Although she starred in Away and The Black Dahlia, Swank mainly focused on producing, earning a few Razzie nominations. She hasn't been in a successful project since, and we're still waiting for her to make a successful comeback. Swank's Oscar-winning performances in Boys Don't Cry and $1 Million Baby touched our hearts, and it seemed like big things were ahead for the starlet. Meg Ryan hasn't had starring roles. The commonality between When Harry Met Sally, You've Got Mail, and Sleepless in Seattle is that they are among the greatest romantic comedies ever made, featuring Meg Ryan. Ryan was one of the most successful actresses in the 1990s and early 2000s, but she has had many hiatuses and hasn't been in any noteworthy films since. She made a few cameos in TV series, directed her first movie, and starred in Ithaca in 2016. Roseanne Barr's racist tweets. The comedian hasn't had a role since, and we're unsure if she'll be offered any shortly. Roseanne Barr won an Emmy and Golden Globe for her show, Roseanne, which ran from 1988 to 1997. When the show was revived in 2018, she naturally returned, but it was short-lived because Barr posted a racist tweet, and even though she apologized, it was too late, and ABC canceled the show the same day. Within weeks, the show was revived as a spin-off called The Connors, which had largely the same cast and crew, excluding Barr. Mo'Nique's high demands. Mo'Nique's big break came in 2009 with the film Precious, which won her an Oscar and received critical acclaim. However, she didn't do any other projects after winning the award, and she told The Hollywood Reporter that 5 years later, Lee Daniels, the director of the film, told her, "Mo'Nique, you've been blackballed." Daniels later told the outlet, her demands through Precious were not always in line with the campaign. This soured her relationship with the Hollywood community. Alfonso Ribeiro couldn't escape Carlton. Alfonso Ribeiro will always be known as Carlton from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but like many actors, the role that made him famous ended up typecasting him. While his co-stars' careers did well after the show, Ribeiro could not break free from Carlton. He has since hosted shows like America's Funniest Home Videos, Catch 21, Spellmageddon, and Dance 360, competing in Dancing with the Stars, and won the season, but hasn't had a leading role in Hollywood. Eddie Murphy's films flopped. Although Eddie Murphy starred in several movies in the 1980s and 1990s, such as Dr. Dolittle, The Nutty Professor, and the Beverly Hills Cop series, his most recent endeavors have been failures, such as Norbit, Meet Dave, and The Adventures of Pluto and Nash. Murphy did have a brief period of success with Dreamgirls, and his most recent role was in Coming to America, the 1998 film's sequel. Shia LaBeouf's bad behavior. Some of his most well-known roles include those of Even Stevens, Holes, and the Transformers franchise. Still, due to substance abuse, legal troubles, and abuse allegations, roles started to disappear, and franchises started replacing him. LaBeouf has had a few roles since, including The Peanut Butter Falcon and Honey Boo, but he has been dropped from movies because of his poor behavior and inability to get along with the cast and crew.
If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon